Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here, and I'm a theater geek.
I'm Monkey, and I'm also a theater geek.
And tonight we're doing a reboot. Get some of that Animaniacs energy there. That's right. It's the official 1.5 Theater Geeks reboot. Take a shot every time I say reboot.
Okay. I'll at least do the neck shake with every reboot.
Okay, maybe I won't say it so much. So yeah, Monkey, you and I, we haven't even like we message each other pretty much every day, in the group chat, but we haven't really talked in a minute. So it's good to have you back on the podcast, my friend.
Yeah, it is a weird thought.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. I mean, it's like I always feel like I'm constantly like up to date with you because of the group chat, but
yeah, irony. I know. Yeah. How do you like that, public?
Yay, parasocial relationships.
Ours is a little more than parasocial.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, for the rest of you listening to, however, that depends.
Okay, cryptic. So, Monkey, I feel like at this point, I am fully entrenched in the theater geek community. I feel like you have done your job, and I have seen my fair share of shows. I haven't gone to Broadway yet, and I don't know if I ever will, frankly, considering the claustrophobia element. I still have to kind of work my way up to that. I would love to, but I just I don't
mixed
know.
Feelings. Yeah, some rows may be better than others. Who knows?
Right. And also, I just I have a lifelong bucket list of theme parks I need to get to, and I don't. And at this point, I doubt I'm going to get to all of them. You know what I mean? So it's like, but anyway, so but you are a big Broadway geek, of course. You've taken multiple trips to the Great White Way. Indeed. And with that in mind, Monkey, of course, a little thing happened in the past couple of years that we're not going to talk about. I don't want to,
not too much. Yeah, I know. They put out a Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Oh, God. But now, Monkey, alas, it is your first time back in a theater. And you did not travel
21
to Broadway.
months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
you did not travel to Broadway, but you traveled to Los Angeles, right?
Well, no. Costa Mesa.
Costa Mesa. All right, close enough.
Yeah, it's SoCal. I don't know. Yeah, the things.
This was, oddly enough,
this was in Los Angeles right before the, stuff hit the fan, which I may touch on that a little later. But yeah, it's sort of funny if I may just, if you look at particularly some of the trips I've taken to NY, there is a possibility. There's definitely an alternate timeline where, okay, so in our timeline, the last piece of live theater I saw before stuff happened was What the Constitution Means to Me. Excellent show. It's a good one to leave off on. But there is absolutely an alternate timeline where if like just at least one show I'd seen in New York was different, that last show before stuff happened would have been Escape to Margaritaville. Which is just a funny thought. Nothing against the people who made that, but of all the things to be a potential last one for 21 months. Funny idea.
Or my last movie theater experience was the Impractical Jokers movie.
Yeah. Mine was Onward. Yeah, there's also another.
Mine was Onward as well, but Onward was like a completely empty theater and you in City Walk, and so it didn't even really feel like a movie theater experience. It felt more like, okay, we're just going to go in and like watch this movie and fuck off. It was like right before.
Speaking of that trip, there's another alternate timeline where my last piece of live theater had been the Mean Girls musical, because that happened to be in Orlando that same weekend I was.
Oh dear God.
It was certainly on the consideration list, but it did not happen. No, instead I watched Mean Girls, the movie, on the plane. So, what could have been? Yeah, you listening, Jeffrey Wright? You watching this? Is it a fun thing to watch? Kind of.
All right. So, Jesus Christ Superstar. Now, I have loved this album since I was a kid, Monkey. This album is one of the albums that made me get into the idea of concept albums and rock operas. And honestly, that's a path that I have tread down that you, for the most part, from what I know of your taste, you do not go down the rock opera path, right?
I mean, maybe a little here and there, but I'm not as, like, I don't know if I'm been as concept album familiar as you are. I certainly know of them.
I feel like between the two of us, I'm definitely the expert.
Yeah. It seems to me like you're the expert, Tiki. It's been a minute since using that. So.
But So what's your familiarity with Superstar? Because I've been listening to it, like I said, since I was a little kid.
Yeah, that's a good segue, because I was definitely going to talk about my history with this show. And a little heads up, folks, it's possible we'll be talking a little more about my experience than the production itself. So
that's totally fine. I just want to set the...
Oh, yeah. I was absolutely going to, because I feel like there's some, there's some little bits of poetry in there. And also just, yeah. So, I think the first time I heard of it was like, also happened to be when I first started seeing theater, really.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I'd seen Lion King a couple and a half years before, but it was so long beforehand that I don't count it. So instead
Lion King barely counts as like I mean, I'm sure it's a wonderful theater experience, but like, I feel like it's so accessible that it barely counts. It's like, yes, I am a theater person now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was around when I was starting to get more into that vibe, into that sort of person. So, like, it's not the first show I saw as for the sake of seeing theater, but it's where I keep track of seeing shows. This 2009 production, The Fiddler in LA. And of course, outside the Pantages is Lloyd Webber's Walk of Fame star. So I heard it mentioned that, he wrote a show called Jesus Christ Superstar, and I thought it was a joke. Like, what? Like, what? No, that's not a real title. But...
That's funny. Oh my God.
Yeah. But anyway, so skip ahead. So obviously, yeah, turns out it is a thing. Skip ahead about 5 years or so. I'm getting my theater degree. I'm in a lighting class. And we watched the arena tour version of Superstar, with
that's
Tim
a good
Minchin,
version.
Ben Forster.
Yeah,
and watching is like, okay, the title actually makes perfect sense. I get it now.
Right.
And won't lie, also a bit of my introduction to that part of the Jesus story, really. Oh no,
yeah,
people
same here.
aren't Christian. What a shock. So what's beautiful is that shortly after watching it in there, it's announced that version of the show is going to tour the US. I purchased my ticket. I still have the ticket stub somewhere, in a drawer or something.
Nice.
And then before the run begins, the whole US tour gets canceled.
Are you serious? Oh no.
Absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't selling well enough. I remember afterwards there was some picture of the cast flipping the bird to a camera or something.
Oh my God.
For context, this was the same producer as stuff like the Lord of the Rings musical and Turn Off the Dark.
Oh man, yeah. Oh, both of those.
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised the Lord of the Rings musical isn't more infamous than it is.
Really, all I know about it is I remember seeing a picture of the curtain once.
I don't know a ton about it, but I know that it was just, it was like one of those situations where it was way too overly ambitious.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Yeah, hey, Doggins, there's a thing for Tolkien Month. Lord of the Rings musical.
Oh my God. Oh, absolutely.
But anyway, so eventually you get this production going around. Also, I've heard good things about the NBC TV version. I never got around to watching it for some reason.
I have not gotten around to that either.
Yeah. But anyway, so I know this production here, this 50th anniversary tour, and it had been in LA early 2019 or so. I skipped it then. And then afterwards I was hearing good buzz about it, and then turns out, oh hey, this theater opening here, this sort of more normal place for me, it's gonna be here soon, and at a time where it's not too unfeasible to go in light of certain circumstances. So, and yeah, it's in this new era where I'm a bit more pick and choose in terms of shows to see. This was a high-ranking one, and it certainly helped, being 90 minutes without an intermission. So, okay, just it's not too long. Get through it in one go, and there.
All right, so let's. Yeah, I was going to say transition into your just experience overall.
Yeah. So overall, it's funny. I'm in the parking structure. I park the car. I have the Broadway channel on Sirius XM playing. What a surprise. And as I've parked, I'm getting ready to exit the car, and Heaven on Their Minds comes on.
Nice. Oh my God. Wow.
Fitting. Yeah. So, being back here, it's neat. There's this little zap sound the ticket scanners do. That's, always lovely to hear. As far as the experience, like in terms of safety protocols,
yeah,
definitely not the worst. Like, this wasn't, say, a Disney theme park,
or
it wasn't as
anywhere in Tennessee there. Calling y'all out.
Certainly, there was room for improvement, I'd say. I know I saw a few noses, maybe some people not masking in the lobby. Perhaps, this visual that you probably maybe deserves to be framed is a picture of, a couple people, sitting, their masks are down, and above them is a monitor that happens to be saying, please have your masks on at all times inside.
Oh dear. God. Yeah.
Nice work, pal.
Nice work, pal.
And yeah, and also just, for me, don't get me wrong, I'm pro masking, but I do see some of the physical annoyances of it, particularly in that, this mask is sort of open below my eyes. That's leaving gaps. I don't want that to be an open gap. So, use an adhesive tape. That's helping, although still inadvertently a little pocket maybe below an eye. That's still a thing. And
I know what you're saying.
It would be nice if I didn't need this tape in the first place. So, yeah, that's certainly a question going forward. I say, glancing at a 2-hour, 40-minute plus intermission runtime for everybody's talking about, Jamie. But anyway, so let's see. So yeah, like I said, not the worst, but it's not the best in terms of safety protocols. I felt not the least anxious I've felt in terms of stuff like this. Again, maybe it's because this was a preview week for members, but the Academy Museum in LA, I didn't feel anxious there.
Yeah.
There's a recommendation for you. Ha Hollywood or Los Angeles place. So let's see. I go into the theater, into the auditorium, and yeah, it's I do wish I'd arrived a little later. I arrived when the house opened about an hour before the show. And yeah, that's time to wait around. So, but anyway, so, I had kind of glanced some pictures of the curtain before. I thought it was just going to be some typical drop, whatever cloth curtain or something, backdrop thing. Nope! It's a freaking wall. Some textured
that's
wall.
That's typical for Superstar. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it looked like it was blocking the entire proscenium portal. How are they going to open this thing?
Right. Yeah.
Turned out it just rises like a normal curtain, but it seriously looked this whole big ass wall, textured wall blocking the stage.
That's why they build
wall.
They build wall to keep us free.
How does the wall keep us free, my children?
All right.
Anyway. So, yeah. And yes, I did manage to find an aisle seat. So hey, aisle seat, not too centered off. I won't be as close to people, which, yeah, that certainly helped. It felt a little more maybe claustrophobic than I remember, or at least the seat next to me felt closer than I remember. Yeah, and this is a place that generally has leg room, so what time will do, and other factors. And so I'm wondering, there's this element I've always enjoyed with live theater, where it's like at the start of it, you have the actor, you have people on stage, and there's like a surreal thrill, a surreal feeling. So
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it had seemed to fade a bit like over the last few years. So is it going to happen here? And yes, like I mean, it was a subtle one, a bit more subtle. So it was kind of just like a guy playing the guitar in semi-lit, but hey, it was present surreal feeling to a capacity. And yeah, this is a good overture to return to the theater with.
Honestly, Hamilton was like the big one for me. I still remember like, when Burr walks on stage, I'm like, oh my God, this is happening in front of my eyes.
Yeah, I remember getting some surreal thrill feeling with that production. And yeah, because like Superstar had absolutely no influence on Burr.
Right.
Wink,
yeah,
wink.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and it is a nice production.
Was the whole opening just a guy and a guitar doing the?
No, that was for like the kind of just the beginning. It's one of the musicians like doing the da 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 da. Yeah, and then some music, and then like eventually this one ensemble person comes on. Yeah, this ensemble person who's credited as mob leader. I guess in the past, like when this was going before, that character was credited as Riot Girl, which I can understand why they may have been keen to go away from that sort of name.
Yeah.
So like there's this sort of gesture she does throughout it. She's kind of, like I said, mob leader. She's mentioned in an interview like, yeah, I kind of like pushed the show into darkness. Yeah, maybe got a little muddied as it went along, but I get it. And yeah, and then like most of the cast rushes in through the aisle and jumps up onto the stage.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, nice.
Yeah. And eventually they give Jesus a guitar.
Nice.
So, yeah, if I may take this moment to sort of look at kind of mention the history of this version of the show.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, because this is from like 2016. It was performed in Regent's Open Air Theatre Auditorium Park in London. I should have looked up the actual name. My apologies, Regents. But yeah, it's been there like multiple years. So this was originally an outdoor thing. And then there were some like, indoor proscenium productions of it. And then of course, right before things went to the fan, they started a US tour of it. And now it's back.
Nice.
So which is cool. And something that stuck out to me, or like that at least caught my attention with this production, is that the choreographer is Drew McGoney, who I of course mainly know for directing and choreographing King Kong on Broadway.
Oh, really? Oh, boy.
Yeah, and one of the highlights of that show was the dancing. Like, this dancing wasn't as holy crap as the dancing in Kong, but still
that's
cool
funny.
to watch.
Yeah.
Good to watch. Something that was kind of neat with this production, taking a sip for a sec, was sort of fitting for like putting a thing to your mouth, which yes, I realize that sounds so wrong, but there was like a kind of running thing with like that I picked up on with say the microphones or maybe amplification as well.
Oh yeah.
It's like throughout the first third or so of the show, like it felt like there was a bit of a power struggle between Judass and Jesus and who's holding the microphone.
Oh,
it's like
okay.
most of the it's like most of the principals in this use like actual mics, like handheld or on a stand.
Oh, I really like that idea. I like that a lot. Ooh.
Yeah, the sort of I know this quote was referring to the arena version.
I don't know how familiar you are. I don't know how familiar you are with the Hold Steady musical that I've been trying to write forever. But I have a song in that involves dueling guitar solos. So yeah, I like the use of like live instruments as part of the storytelling. All right. Anyways.
Yeah. So yeah, remember like Lloyd Webber saying about the arena. All Jesus Christ Superstar was written as a rock concert. It's these proscenium versions where it loses something. And yeah, this is sort of rock. This is concert-esque. That neat genre of show like Rent or Chicago or Hair, where it's not, it's not something where you're literally watching a concert, but it feels like it. It evokes that.
Right, which is exactly what I'm trying to do with my Hold Steady musical too. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is absolutely, and of course with Superstar being the concept album as well, and with the concept album, you can literally just run through the whole thing, kind of like Hamilton, and get the whole show out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so funny. Like some little story I reread recently was how when the original Broadway production of Superstar, they were gonna use wireless head mics or something, wireless mics, but this was 1971, so it was still picking up like taxi signals and such.
Oh man, that's funny.
So like at the last minute or so, we're figuring this out. Let's find a way to re-choreograph it with microphone cords, and we can drape those cords with leaves like it's the Garden of Gethsemane. So
oh my god. I love that.
But as for this production, so again, several handheld mics or stands. So
yeah.
As I was saying, throughout the first handful of numbers, it felt like there was a thing like, okay, so Judass has the mic now, or Jesus has the mic now. Who's speaking their views? Who's got the power?
I'm legitimately geeking out about that. That's such a cool concept.
Like heaven on their mind starts with Jesus has his guitar. He's at the mic stand. He's about to sing, but then Judass grabs the mic and is like, "My mind is clearer now."
Oh man! Oh, I'm geeking out, monkey. All right.
Yeah, and then later, for Simon Zalati's, for his song, Simon gets permission to take the mic from Jesus.
Okay, I gotta know.
Yeah,
I gotta know. I'm sorry.
Yes.
King Herod's song. How did that go? What did they do with it?
Herod is. I got a slight ringmaster vibe from him because he comes out first in this huge cape, sort of boxy, stretches far back.
Oh god,
His mic stand has a skull on it, so I don't remember I'm guessing he went to handheld for other parts of the song. But yeah, and then when he gets to "So you are the Christ," the cape gets ripped off. He's got this golden jacket.
Oh,
gave me a bit of a ringmaster vibe.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah. I remember one point when he gets to the "Hey, aren't you scared of me, Christ?" He also pulled out a blade.
Ooh, okay.
Kind of moved it along his servants and then held it to Jesus. And I like the song, but I get the feeling that maybe not the strongest it's been. Still fine, but
yeah, I feel like it all kind of depends on the performance, honestly, with that song.
I could see that.
Yeah.
This is also, a role I'd be more likely to play out of these ones.
Of course, yeah.
Speaking of roles I'd be more likely to play, so I remember there was some stuff where during the trial where Jesus used Pilate's mic to speak, so that's again with the mic stuff. But then as for kind of continuing the theme of it, there was a moment towards the end of Gethsemane where Jesus is sort of having a breakdown, throws off his sweater, and he throws down the mic stand, which I took to mean was his frustrations with where this whole amplification thing has gotten him. During Superstar, they bring out a speaker, they take the speaker off of its stand, and the stand becomes part of the crucifix.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
And Jesus is also strapped, tied to it with a microphone cord.
Oh my god, dude.
And Judass is...
Dude, I'm loving this. This sounds like a great
and Judass's death was represented by him throwing a microphone cord over part of the set and then just a light shining on the microphone dangling.
Oh, okay. I like that too. All right.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Won't lie. This was a sort of show where it's okay, I am glad I knew the story going in. Help make things a little...
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it helps, the song is listed as Judass's Death in the program, so.
Right.
Yeah, again, out of like little choices you enjoyed, kind of maybe just the set of it sort of reminded me of my production of Rent, which you of course saw. I know.
Yeah, with the staircases. Can you describe the staircases really quick?
Or like I know we called them units. I remember you calling them fire escapes, where it was like we had these sort of units, like you could roll them around and there was like a second story to them that we would take ladders to get up. This wasn't quite that, but it was like, nevertheless, the set had like these two large sort of industrial units, and on top of them, like on the second level is where the band was seated. Sometimes characters would be up there.
And honest to God, I thought your production was like more visually stimulating than the actual Broadway production. I swear to God.
What, you mean like moving units around is
right? Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, and just a little quick shout out to the Bandits, because like the drummer, or I'm guessing there was only one drummer, but it was like sort of obscured behind part of it, so being all far to the left, but you could sort of see their silhouette kind of opaquely, which, delightfully ominous.
Oh, that's cool.
Like
that's
at one
cool.
point, like I'm watching them during the crucifixion, I'm like, is the drummer God in this?
That kind of reminds me of how in my in the production of Cabaret I saw, and this is probably typical for Cabaret, but when the MC is not like part of a scene, he'll just kind of like go into the background and just kind of like ominously leer at the people.
Right.
I don't know if that's part
that
of
was like the second
Cabaret,
time,
but
I don't know, maybe here and there. That was like the second time in the show where I was like, is this God? Like,
right.
Because like the spotlight shining down from the back of the house to Jesus during Gethsemane, I was like, oh, is this like God? Like that's what he's singing to. If God is even in this show, which is arguable. Hey, debate!
Yay, ambiguity!
Religious ambiguity. That's never gonna be controversial.
Oh God.
And yeah, again with the sort of glad I knew some of this going in. Like I won't lie, at times this is probably more of a sound thing, but the lyrics could be a bit difficult to make out at times, mostly with the ensemble. So
that wouldn't have been an issue for me because I know the entire soundtrack like the back of my hand. But
precisely, and that's almost a little bit of a segue. And like I think my favorite bit of the show would have probably been this Jesus Must Die, because favorite song probably.
That's always one of my that is easily one of my top 5 songs at least.
And also looking back at it, I feel like the only, like in terms of songs from this score that I know, like that I'm super familiar with, like just right off, there's maybe like 3.5. And this is the first of those to pop up in the score, which helps. And also, so like, hey, part I know, especially with this one. Like I'd seen a little clip of towards the end of that song, the "Fools you have no perception" verse. Because someone did a whole compilation of different versions of that verse from various productions. And the last one is from this one. So it's like, here's that visual. Here it is visually in front of me. Yay! Which, with the irony, and then I realized, oh God, this is making me, getting these happy feelings out of me at the part where they're saying this Jesus must die.
Oh God.
Juxtaposition.
No, honestly, honestly, that song, that's one of the reasons why that's one of my favorite songs. That it's such a bop, and yet it's so dark. It's literally just like the dark cloud rolling into the plot, and yet it's a total bop.
What's this? Caiaphas, of course, has a impressive bass voice.
I've never seen a bad Caiaphas in any of the productions I've seen.
Yeah. Let's see. Where was I going with this? So, and sort of segue, almost like, this is a cast where I didn't quite feel like anyone outshined each other, which I mean is a compliment. Sort of more of a one unit thing. But shout out to Ty Screen as Annas. There was a bit of a smarminess from him that, no idea. I have no idea if this character is going to show up in Rogers the Musical, but if there's ever a live stage musical version of the MCU, Ty Green needs to play Ebony Maw.
Oh man, that's funny.
It would be perfect casting, like again, like where it's not quite a literal interpretation of the character, but absolutely being like, yeah, that's this character. I guess you could say like, you know, like whatever comic relief characters in Lion King would be a good analogy, or the SpongeBob cast. But yes, when that happens, can that happen? You know, sort of a couple little funny notes about the flogging is how, you know, a lot of it was like the ensemble like throwing gold glitter on Jesus, which, you know, maybe not that scary, but then as they're kind of like physically restraining him, it's like, okay, there's some intenseness. And then what I found pretty scary in this was how, I know this might sound silly saying it out loud, but like as we're entering the 30s, the ensemble is like straight up in a line to grab some glitter to throw on Jesus. Like everyone's gonna flog him or something.
Yeah, I could see that as just kind of like a disturbing like visual from like a metaphorical point of view. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I describe it and my mind flashes to the gag in Airplane.
Oh God.
But you know, in presence it worked. Also, something I know I didn't realize till later was how, so during the flogging, like Caiaphas and Annas are up on the second level. Annas is playing the guitar. And then Caiaphas has one of those slapsticks, like the actual item slapstick. And maybe like the night after I saw it, I was kind of, you know, looking up, you know, slapstick, the item. And I found out the type of slapstick that he was using in that scene is called a whip.
Oh boy.
Very appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Where was I? Yeah, and it was kind of funny just looking at how the MCU seems to have popped in my mind a few times throughout the thing. Like even the final visual kind of reminded me of the "Did you do it? Yes. What did it cost?" scene from Infinity War.
Sure.
Because like it worked, of course, but like it's like Jesus has been crucified. You're looking at him silhouetted on the cross for a while. Then lights up a little. We see Judas sitting, looking at him. Jesus is brought down from the cross. Then as the ensemble members who carried him down leave, he stays. He and Judas sit down, look at each other. Lights fade to black.
Ooh, yeah, that does sound pretty dramatic.
I won't lie, like maybe it's just because of this is how the show is written, but throughout my head during this ending, I was like, please don't go to the resurrection. Please don't go to the resurrection. Which, yeah, isn't that, you know, you would say it's funny. How fitting is it to resurrect my theater-going thing with a Jesus show, but then you remember this show does not include the resurrection. Also, if you want to add a little new silly element you can't unhear when looking at this show in the future, I'm seeing like Judas is the Chucky Finster of this relationship, of this dynamic. Like, I don't think this is such a good idea.
Oh God. Oh man. I have never thought about it like that, but when you put it like that, yeah, I can see that. Oh God, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, little touch I could see, just because, you know, oh, here's a directorial choice. Let's get Tiki's opinion on it. So, for like the second half of the show, so once Judas tells the priest like he'll be in Gethsemane, like Caiaphas puts his hands in the money chest, and they come out. His hands come out like covered in silver paint.
Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, there's a moment like around the start of the Last Supper where Judas arrives and he tries to wipe it off, but he can't.
Ooh, okay, that's cool.
I think
that's
cool. Like maybe as it gets closer to his death, like there was maybe some more paint going up his arm, and then by the time Superstar comes, like his costume has a bunch of silver paint trickling down it.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a fine production, a fine piece, maybe one of Lloyd Webber's better ones. You know me, I love Phantom. Also, just a little shout out, like, during Hosanna, there was, like, one of the ensemble members, maybe it was Peter, but, like, kind of standing on the units below the orchestra, and he was, like, banging on a big drum. I'm like, I love that. That's what I would want to be. I want to be the one standing there, like, banging the drum to this music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, on a survey that they emailed me later, I gave the show, like, 86 out of 100. In leaving it, I had this moment, like, I'm sure I felt it before, like, certainly with things, and it's... So, and this is oddly enough, I first heard this term in the same year I was being introduced to Superstar. And I know pop culture would think of this term differently. I'm not sure I've heard this definition for the term anywhere else, but Tesseract. I know, MCU again, am I right? But the way I first heard the term was it being described as like a sudden transition. Like you're in one moment and then you're in another moment. Which I've certainly felt. And I definitely felt it here. Like, so I was able to get out of the auditorium into my car pretty quickly. So it's like, oh man, that can't have helped us. Like, dang, I'm suddenly here. I'm out of that world of the theater and like I'm going back into the mortal world. Which
especially after after such a long delay, after such a long hiatus, and obviously
it didn't
things. Sorry.
Yeah, honestly, feeling watching the show, it didn't feel like it had been that long. Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, yeah, it's like, oh, I wish I wasn't feeling this, sudden transition afterwards. Like I'm noticing it feels easier to believe that I saw the show than that I heard it. I guess that's what being used to other recordings does to you.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of funny, like I guess if you want to put a picture of it, maybe, okay, partial picture of it. But like literally, Wicked on Broadway literally has a big sign above the doors as you leave that says "Reality Straight Ahead."
Yeah, that's cool.
So
I kind of like that.
It's sort of like that, like, oh man, we're leaving this realm and going back into current realm. Yay! Because this current realm is so wonderful. Like I said, sort of ties back to that. I already mentioned it, time to the year, discovering this show and getting to know that term. And also, like, so I know there was a play I was doing around the time I learned this meaning of Tesseract, where I definitely felt one, like, in the shift between two scenes. Like, yeah, I turn around and I'm suddenly in this different scene, this different place. Cool feeling. Oddly enough, in that scene, in that show, I played a Jesus character, and that character would not have appeared yet when I was really feeling this Tesseract. Irony. Yeah, I don't know if I really have other notes, but yeah, it's sort of funny how, again, this tie to where I start looking at theater ended up being the first thing I see post-shutdown.
Yeah.
Poetry, dramatic structure in life that we find as we look to the things, find meaning in the things. There may be there may be not. We find them in our heads, we plant them here. Is it pretentious? Maybe somewhat, but it's there.
Okay, that was genuinely amusing. All right.
And no, I was not intending any irony there and going into a Sondheim-esque tune while talking about a Lloyd Webber show.
All right,
yeah, if you're feeling, if this tour is coming near you and you feel like you're feeling okay to risk going, I mean, follow the safety protocols, of course. It goes over your nose, people. But yeah, it's a production that's, worth checking out. A nice one.
All right, Monkey, we're gonna plan our next Theater Geeks right here, right now. Are you gonna see West Side Story?
Yes, of course.
In theaters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably private screening, but yeah.
Sure. We're talking West Side Story.
Good idea.
All right. Next time on Theater Geeks.
That, maybe.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. We're back, everybody.
Is this podcast what you think it is?
Sorry.
I got this egg shaker from a theater show.